Welcome. You're watching Suncoast Spotlight, and this is a program done in partnership between the Sarasota County Film and Entertainment Office and the Suncoast Technical College and its digital filmmaking department. And today, this morning, I have with me a terrific guest, and she has come all the way from New York City for our special event that we do once a year called Six in a Mix. And her name is Lawson, and she's with the Gersh Agency, which is a bi-coastal super agency. But I'll let you tell her about it instead of me. Welcome, Alice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's fun to have you down here. And you said the weather was what when you left New
York? The weather is 23 degrees and snowing, so it's a pleasure to be here. You don't even know how much of a pleasure.
I think I asked you at the airport, did you bring your bathing suit?
Oh, I did. I brought my bathing suit, I brought my dresses. I'm ready to be in the sun, so I feel good. Yeah.
Sunshine in paradise.
Absolutely.
Have you ever been to our white sugar sand beaches?
No, I have not traversed Florida very much, so this is all new to me, and I'm excited.
Well, when you get out to Siesta Key, you'll see it's one of the world's, this is a commercial portion of our program, one of the world's #1 beaches. It has white, soft sugar sand, and it's actually clear quartz, but because of the reflection of the sun, it looks like white, but it looks like sugar. Kids make snow angels in our sugar sand.
That is so lovely. I can't wait to go. Yeah, I'm an East Coast person. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I live in New York, and so I don't get to come to the warm weather too much unless I go to L.A., so it's always fun to see a new place.
Well, now you have a special place where you're always welcome. So
yeah, great. Thank you.
It's kind of like the bar Cheers. You're always welcome here.
This is just like Cheers.
It's just like Cheers, only with sunshine.
Yeah.
So, Alice, tell me, how did you end up at Gersh? And then we'll kind of work backwards a little bit into your background, your education. But how did you end up at the Gersh Agency?
Well,
They're huge.
Well, I've always had a big interest in entertainment. When I was in college, I did a lot of film classes, and actually my film professor in college suggested that I take an internship with an independent producer in New York. And so this independent producer's name is Tim Perrell, and he shared an office with a casting director named Laura Rosenthal. And so he did a lot of small budget independent movies like Last Chance Harvey and World's Greatest Dad. And the casting director was wonderful. She cast all of Todd Haynes' movies, and while I was there, she won an Emmy for Mildred Pierce. And so I got to see two very different sides of the industry. I got to see the development side, I got to see the production side, and I got to see the casting side. And so while I was there, I wasn't quite sure where to go from there. And so they said, why don't you go and work at an agency? It's sort of the epicenter of the industry. You learn everything, like everything goes through an agency. All the managers, all the producers, casting directors, you learn so much while you're there. And so they got me an interview at Gersh, and I started there, and I was in the mailroom for about a month.
You literally did the classic traditional work yourself up from the mailroom.
Oh, I was in the mailroom getting yelled at for not buying enough apples for the office and for not stapling things the right way. I mean, there was a lot of that, but it's all, you learn so much, and you get to know who all the agents are, and you learn about all the different departments. Like in the New York office, there's the theater department, there's comedy, there's personal appearances, there's the lit side, there's the talent side, and then there was the book to film side, which I didn't even know existed before I started. I thought, if I would do the literary side, it would be representing, screenwriters and TV writers. And so I didn't even realize that you could be in a position where you're representing TV and film rights for authors. And so after about a month in the mailroom, the head of the book department was looking for an assistant, and I raised my hand. I got in there really fast, and then I was his assistant for 3 years, and then became an agent soon after. So, I ended up, I was coming from the, development, production, casting side of the world, just not quite sure what my niche would be, thinking that maybe, I would go and be at an agency for a year or so and then maybe go and work in development or something. But it just turned out that I really liked the selling side of the business, I think more so than the buying side.
I have a theory that everything is sales. Everything in life is sales. Whatever it is, your product, your service, your goods, your talent, your skills, your hobbies, your avocations, your vocations, you're always selling your belief in yourself, your belief in your product, whatever it might be, and convincing others is sales.
You have to pitch yourself in any situation. So, even if you go and work on the development side of it, you're pitching the projects you're working on. But I think at an agency, you're on the fast track of learning how to pitch because, it's a little bit more of a volume game than being on the development side of it, where you have a couple projects that you're, doing a deep dive and really working on. We work with 20, 30, 40, 50 clients. We work with not just our own clients and our own department, but we work with talent clients. we work with TV writers, we work with clients across every department to try and find the material to pursue and to develop. And so in doing that, we have to learn how to pitch a lot of different kinds of people to the outside world and a lot of, just different kinds of players within the industry. So it's great training.
You have to be the voice for clients a lot of times, especially if they're not socially adept or they're not good at pitching themselves. You take that over.
Yes, and you have to learn how to pitch yourself and to pitch everybody else and to pitch the agency, because it's a very competitive business and there are a lot of agencies like the one that I work at. And so you have to, and you're signing clients every week, every day, and you have to get on the phone with them or you have to get in meetings with them and tell them why not only you're the right agent for them, but why this agency is so great and why they might be better than another place and another fit. So there are so many different layers to what you're pitching that it's great practice for the world.
Really. Well, we're going to have to take a really short break, but to all of you watching, stay with us because there's more interesting knowledge and insights into the entertainment business coming right up. We'll be right back.
The Early Childhood Education program at Suncoast Technical College will help you to understand child development and prepare you for a future in preschool teaching. Students will complete 480 hours of direct work with children age 5 or younger. Call at 941-924-1365 or click suncoast.edu. Suncoast Technical College, career in a year.
A new housing boom is predicted in our area. That means new jobs for qualified plumbers. Our plumbing program can prepare you to take advantage of those opportunities. You'll learn commercial, residential plumbing, installation, maintenance, and servicing. Become familiar with the latest solar technologies, and in as little as a year, you can be working as a plumber's assistant, preparing yourself to become a certified, licensed plumber.
Welcome back to Suncoast Spotlight. We're talking to Alice Lawson from the Gersh Agency out of New York, and she's been telling us about the many layers. It's like a layer cake of all the work you do. It's so many ingredients. And your office also has a West Coast location.
Yes, so we have about, I would say, 30 agents in New York and then about 70 or so in LA. And so I would say that we have a very strong talent department in New York, unlike other agencies. I think most other full-service agencies like us have a much smaller talent division in New York, and we have a pretty large one, which is nice because we're able to sort of service our actors and actresses for stage. And so we have a lot of Broadway stars, and we have a lot of people who cross over from TV and film into theater, and vice versa. And we do have some comedy, and we have an entire theater department as well, which is separate from talent, which does, lighting designers, costume designers, directors for stage and theater and all of that. So
in addition to writers and novelists,
exactly,
and screenwriters.
And it just so happens that it turned out that the two book-to-film agents, including myself, are in New York, and they could be anywhere. It just sort of depends. It's whether being in New York, you're a little bit closer to the book side of things, or being in LA, you're a little closer to the TV film side of things. But you're operating in both spaces, so I think you can take advantage of both, just in a different way.
Do you go to LA periodically? Or
I go to LA all the time, and it's great to go and do as many meetings as possible and to work out of that office because we do meetings on video conference all the time with my colleagues in LA because we're working very closely with our feature literary department and TV literary department because we need to be helping their writers and their producers and their directors find material to pursue, whether that's a book, whether it's an article, and trying to pair them with material that they can adapt and develop. Because IP is such an important part of the industry at this point. It's very hard to get a movie made, and it's a little bit easier if you have a piece of material that has a built-in audience that
and has clear rights.
That is an established being in the world, an entity all on its own. And so we oftentimes we would try to get a lot of our writers to find a book or article, whether it's novel, whether it's nonfiction, something that they're excited about, something that they would maybe want to take to a producer or take to a studio and come into the room, and instead of just just an idea that they have, say, look, here's a book, here's a piece of
Here's
IP.
Here's
a physical thing that, that's sold to a publisher that already has an audience here, and this is something that I want to pursue and, go to fruition. So we're sort of in that way like the Switzerland of the agency, working with everybody to try and find material and try and make sure that, people have the right ideas.
You're the hub of the wheel.
The hub, yeah.
Right.
We like to say we are, but
I think, what is it, the Motion Picture Association of America says that intellectual property, IP, is one of the few industries in America where we are still globally a powerhouse because we have that much IP and the IP rights that we keep in America.
Yes.
And that is, we export more than we import, which means we have a great trade balance.
Yeah.
We have a positive trade surplus. And people don't realize it's a manufacturing business. IP is manufactured by the creativity and the imaginations of our people.
Absolutely. And I think it's the most fun side of the business because it's world building.
Right.
You're going and you're selling an entire world. And that, there's nothing without the book. There's no Game of Thrones without the book. There's no Harry Potter without the book, just to give the two biggest examples. But,
there's no Peter Rabbit.
Exactly.
Beatrix Potter hadn't made the books.
It's just you get to be in charge of selling the whole world, and you get to sort of bring these authors out of the 5 years that you spend alone, sort of like in this like solitary world, and try and figure out a way to put it across other mediums. So I think it's actually the most exciting part of any kind of agency or any kind of selling.
Right. And I think it's great. One of our goals as a film commission for Sarasota County is to help all of our people, our students, as well as our adult learners, as well as our professionals and wannabe professionals in the industries of media, to understand the multimedia, omnimedia concept. That if you write a book, it could be a movie. If you write a screenplay, it could be a novel. If you write either one of those, it could be a TV series, it could be a web series. There's so many places.
You have to keep an open mind, and you also have to realize that, your book is going to change. That's what we always tell our clients, is that once somebody options your work, you are giving up a huge amount of creative control. Like, even if you're a consultant, even if you're an EP, even if you're heavily involved, it is still, those rights are not yours anymore. And so you do have to keep an open mind, and you also have to realize that things change and they evolve, and you just have to be extremely open to it and excited.
You're sending your baby to boarding school, and everybody's going to influence them.
Exactly. No, I always say to authors, I'm like, I know that this book is your baby. I know you've probably been working on this for anywhere from 2 to 10 years, and it's a solitary job. It's a weird thing to only be working on one thing for a long time, but you just have to be open about it.
It's true.
And what it can become.
Well, I'm sorry that we have so little time. I could talk to you for hours. But we are coming up to the end of this portion of our show, and I hope that Sarasota is going to be as much fun for you as having you here is being fun for us.
Oh, I'm already having fun, so thank you
great.
so much for having me.
Well, Alice, thank you for being on Suncoast Spotlight.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to hearing you at 6 in a Mix.
Yes.
And you'll be speaking on our New Yorkers panel.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and stay with us after this break, because we're going to come back with one of her fellow professionals from New York City who's in another portion of the business, and you're going to enjoy getting to know her too. So stay with us.
The Auto Collision Program at Suncoast Technical College prepares you for employment as an automotive body repairer and refinisher.
Upon completion of the program, you'll have the skills to write a small estimate, fix a little dent, maybe repair a bumper cover, blend some color paint out, and straighten the frame on an automobile, including welding and plastic composite repairs.
For more information, visit www.suncoast.edu or contact us at 941-924-1365.
Welcome back to Suncoast Spotlight. I'm your host, Jeannie Corcoran, the Film Commissioner for Sarasota County, and my next guest is another fabulous young woman from New York City and from the world of entertainment and film and so forth, and her name is Jenny Halper, and she's with Mavin Pictures. Welcome,
Yes.
Jenny.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Jenny and I were talking at the Independent Film Project in New York in fall.
In October, November? Something
November
like that.
2017. And I was telling her that we would just love to have her come down to Sarasota. And now here she is. She's here for our 6 in a Mix event. And Jenny is from the world of independent film.
Yes. I work at a company called Mavin Pictures that has really six employees, and we're based out of Soho, and we make 2 to 3 movies a year. We just had a movie that was in Sundance.
Right. and you are busy. I mean, your work is not high quantity, but really high quality. Having a lot of Mavin Pictures products gone on to be award-winning and Academy Award-winning, and major stars are involved.
I mean, we really try hard to find projects that both will have commercial appeal and have everything that I've always loved about independent movies, which is one of the reasons I went into independent film. One of my favorite movies when I was in college was Kenneth Lonergan's You Can Count on Me, and I remember seeing that and thinking, I want to go into film and I want to make a movie like that. And I just love movies that have really great characters and tell stories that you don't usually get to see. And at Mavin, we're able to do that. So we had a movie that was just at Sundance and won the Director's Award. It was called The Kindergarten Teacher. It starred Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it was on a lot of the best lists of movies at the festival. So that was really great. And just getting to work on projects that are both creatively and commercially, I think, fulfilling is really awesome.
Right, and I think Mavin has such an interesting, it's not a niche market, but it's a very definite set of parameters for the type of quality, a little quirkiness, a human interest, some drama, some comedy. It has a lot of heart. What you do has a lot of heart.
We try not to pigeonhole ourselves in genre, but something that we've been talking a lot about is movies that are set in unusual worlds. So we did a movie called American Honey that was at Cannes, and it's a road trip through Middle America, and it's just this portrait of Middle America that the director, Andrea Arnold, who happens to actually be British, captures in a way that's just incredibly authentic and special.
And a portion of it was shot in Florida. In fact, didn't the young woman who was the lead, wasn't she?
She
like
was found in Florida.
Found in Florida.
Yeah, Andrea Arnold did a lot of street casting, so that's one. We develop a lot from books as well, so that's something.
And one of our earlier guests in the show today, Alice Lawson from the Gersh Agency, you two know each other, and she was talking about the crossover with film and the crossover with all forms of talent, as well as producers and directors and live theater and television and film and so forth. So you work with agents out of New York to get films
I work
cast?
With agents out of New York, out of LA, work with managers as well. Essentially, my job is to, one, read the scripts that come in and help us decide what we should make, and if a script is good but not great, but the story is amazing, will we work with that writer and try to make it great? My job is also to take a piece of material, whether it's a book or a script, and attach a filmmaker to it, and either then go out and make the movie with that filmmaker, or if we're attaching a filmmaker to a book, develop this book into a screenplay and get it going. So I work a lot with agents and managers, and it's sort of constantly farming talent, really.
And you're connective tissue. You're connecting things to connecting people and connecting content and connecting product to the right team to get it made.
Yeah, no, I think one of my favorite things about my job is that you're a matchmaker. You're saying, this director would be great for this, and we develop a lot for actresses. So, reading a book and saying, oh, this would be a really great part for this, for this actress. Let's see if we can build a movie around them.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to you about. There's a project that's. A man has been sending me emails about his mom back in the 50s, I guess, was the only woman who ever escaped from the Sarasota County Jail. And she was sort of a Ma Barker type, an attractive woman. She's called like Carla Gugino. And she fell in love with a criminal and went off on the road to criminality with him. They got arrested. She escaped. It's an interesting story. But I thought, I didn't know that came out of Sarasota.
Oh, that's very cool.
And it's based on a book. And he's
cool.
promoting the book and hopes to make it into a screenplay one of these days. So you never know where you can find content.
Great. I mean, we're working on one project that I'm really excited about that's about a 3-time world champion tennis player named Alice Marble, who was also a spy during the Second World War.
Ooh, a spy.
Which is just an incredible story of this amazing woman who accomplished so much before she was 32 years old. And then we've got another true story we're working on about a woman who went by the name James Barry, but was actually called Margaret Ann Buckley. And she lived her entire life as a man so she could practice medicine. And in the 1820s in Cape Town, single-handedly reformed the hospitals and the prisons and treated an entire leper colony and performed one of the first known successful cesarean sections, saving both mother and child. So really finding these amazing stories and trying to bring them to the screen. And it can be a process that takes years, but it can also be extremely fulfilling.
That's wonderful. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and Jenny's going to tell us some more interesting stuff, including a little bit about her background as a writer herself. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a start to your veterinary career? Suncoast Technical College offers the perfect program. The Veterinary Assisting Program teaches students how to prevent disease in animals, how animals act when they are trying to communicate something is wrong, and how to help them. Suncoast Technical College's Vet Lab is a model of a real working environment. After graduating, students are ready to work in a veterinary facility or go on to advanced coursework at the college level. Visit our website at suncoast.edu or call us at 941-924-1365.
Florida is on the verge of a new housing boom, and the one thing all new buildings will have in common is heating and air conditioning. The HVAC program at Suncoast Technical College will train you in all phases of ventilation and air conditioning, installation, and maintenance. For more information, log on to suncoast.edu or call 941-924-1365. Suncoast Technical College, career in a year.
Welcome back to Suncoast Spotlight. And our guest today is Jenny Halper from New York and Mavin Pictures. And Jenny, before the break, we were talking about amazing content that you find in books and stories and premises and concepts and so forth. But you yourself have a background as a writer. How did you find your way to Mavin? And tell me a little bit about how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, so I was writing what I say in parentheticals, film journalism when I was in college, and for a year in between college and grad school, and through grad school, I was writing for a lot of sort of smaller newspapers and websites, and I was doing a lot of film reviewing, and it was sort of like my film school because I never went to film school, so I got to see 12 movies a week and then interview the people who made the movies, which was kind of amazing, and you couldn't really make a living at it, but it was so much fun. And I thought I would go into that, but it was around that time, 2007, 2008, that things were swiftly becoming a blogosphere, and I found that that if I wanted to write articles about film in the way that I wanted to, which was not ask sort of paparazzi-esque questions, I wasn't really going to be able to make a living unless I could somehow get in at the New York Times or Vanity Fair or, one of those places that was super tough.
Under a huge banner.
Exactly. And I was in graduate school at Emerson, and I was studying fiction writing, and I had published a couple of short stories and sort of have continued to do that through my time in film, and it's nice to have the two separate things. But Emerson had an LA campus, and they had production companies you could intern at, and I was very curious about what it was like to work for a producer. And so I ended up basically reaching out to companies that made movies that I loved and interning for a couple of companies out in LA. And one of the producers that I was doing some work for, who I was connected to, it's actually kind of a weird circuitous story that leads back to Mavin, but there was a company called Title IX Films, which was all about evening the playing field for women in the film industry. And this was 2008, 2009, way ahead of their time.
Ahead of today.
Yeah. Right? And I had reached out to an executive there because I really wanted to work there. And it was a 2-person company, and she was like, we don't have any space for an intern, but I'm going to connect you to a producer we're working with, who happened to be a woman by the name of Bly Faust, who went on to produce Spotlight. And so I started doing some work for her just, to help her out and to learn. And she ended up connecting me with great people in New York. And I'm from New York, and so when I moved back, I ended up interning for one of the places where she knew people, and that happened to be Celine Rattray, who runs Mavin Pictures, and have been with her ever since. And one of the things that we really focus on is woman behind the camera. The crew of our movie, The Kindergarten Teacher, was 50% female. It was a female director. It starred Maggie Gyllenhaal. And that's something that's really important to me, is evening the playing field for female filmmakers and just women in film in general, and creating really meaty roles, because I do find that, I read sometimes 20 scripts a week, and a lot of the characters, both male and female, to be honest, that come across my desk are just not that interesting. But seeing if I can, develop really complicated, interesting roles and great roles for women in particular. I think I went a whole big loop, but
but you're where you want to be.
Yes.
And Celine has been down here. We've had her come to Sarasota, and she's spoken at our Six in a Mix a few years ago. So you've kind of come full circle to get to know us as well. It's great to know Mavin Pictures.
Yeah, no, and Celine is incredible, and one of the first movies that I worked on with her was The Kids Are All Right, and I just remember seeing how hard she worked to get that off the ground, and being utterly baffled and impressed by her intelligence and her fortitude. And I was interning simultaneously with her and with 2 other companies at the same time, and loved the other places too, but just was blown away by Celine.
Right. I remember seeing a rough cut of 10,000 Saints
Yeah.
when I was in New York one time on a trade mission, and Celine was nice enough to set up a little screening in the office, and I got to watch it. And the grittiness, the quality of it, the acting was phenomenal, and it was so human, and yet it was so unusual. It was an unusual story in an unusual world, but it was so human. It was touching.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there really is an appetite for movies that are not, for lack of that are not big tentpole Transformers movies. I think that people really want to watch those movies and want to watch them in the theaters, and oftentimes they're not being made or distributed right. And my taste, as I've mentioned, You Can Count on Me is one of my favorite movies. Tom McCarthy's films were a huge influence on me. John Sayles' work was a huge influence on me. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Ordinary People, which is super bleak. But I feel like those movies, just seeing a movie like the ones that I just mentioned in an audience with, a crowd of other people, it's such a different experience. And I would like to believe that people still want to see those films.
There's plenty of giant tent poles out there.
There sure are. I wouldn't know how to make them
for that audience, and it's good to know that the artistic world of the smaller film, the more intimate film, the unusual film, still has a place.
Yeah.
And it seems to be proven out by the Oscars. Look at the last couple of Academy
Look at
Award
Moonlight.
winners. Look at Moonlight, which came out of Florida. Yay! And
Look at Florida Project, which I think is
Florida
not
Project as
getting
well.
nearly as much attention as it deserves. It's really sad because that movie's so good.
Right. And it was made, we have local producers who actually worked on both of those films from Sarasota, Manatee County area. And, we love the small budget local producers that get into the indie world and expand into award winners. And we're running out of time.
Okay.
So, but anyway, Jenny, it's been so great having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. And between you and Alice, I just love to see the young dynamic women from New York come down the coast and visit us with all you have to offer, all your knowledge and skills. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
And to everybody at home, thanks for watching.